President Trump says that his threat to deport illegal immigrants across the country is still in effect unless Democrats work to change U.S. asylum laws. The acting director of the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, Ken Cuccinelli, appeared on Face the Nation Sunday. He said ICE is preparing to send about 1 million undocumented immigrants back to their home countries. The president promised ICE raids last month, but delayed the operation a few days later. But Mr. Trump said that the deportations will start fairly soon. He said that just this past Friday, and the pending raids are causing panic for some living in the U.S. without legal status. CBSNews.com politics reporter Camilo Montoya-Galvez spoke with several concerned undocumented immigrants in Maryland. And Camilo joins me now from Washington. So Camilo, tell me a little bit more. What did these undocumented immigrants tell you about how the president's threats really affect their daily lives?
Yeah, as you mentioned, Rena, ever since the president vowed to order ICE to carry out these mass deportations last month, many immigrants without legal status here in the U.S. have been living under this constant state of trepidation. Some even fear a trip to the local convenience store in Langley Park, Maryland, a Washington suburb home to many newcomers from Central America and the Caribbean. Many residents told me that they're well aware of the repercussions of living in the U.S. without legal status, but that these threats by the presidents of mass raids, especially targeting families, have instilled in them a palpable fear that is preventing them from carrying out some of the day-to-day routines that they have.
You know, you spoke with one young mother who crossed the border when she was pregnant, and her just weeks-old baby was actually born in the U.S., is a U.S. citizen. How might separating an undocumented mom from her actually legally born child complicate matters for ISIS?
Right, so that's one of the worries that many advocates have denounced, right, that these operations, because some of them target undocumented people who happen to be members of what is called a mixed status family. So some members of those families are U.S. citizens, some are green card holders. So these operations will inherently lead to family separations in some cases, like if it were to happen to Jennifer, who spoke to me on the condition that we do not disclose her last name. She's a 22-year-old mother from Guatemala. 7 months ago, she crossed into the U.S. from Mexico illegally while pregnant to reunite with her husband, who had crossed the border a month earlier with their 5-year-old son. Now, the family is seeking asylum, but Jennifer said the prospect of being deported, like you mentioned, especially if they're denied asylum, it's terrifying for her. She fears, like you mentioned, that she might be separated from her baby girl, who was just born 22 days ago.
Yeah, I can't believe it. 22 days ago. You know, ICE officials have signaled the raids would target what they call a limited group. What do we know about the pending operation, and what do we know about the group they're trying to target?
Right, so as we know, the president first vowed to deport millions last month, something logistically and politically untenable, really, to accomplish during his term. He later said that he was delaying the raids, but pledged to deport them unless Congress overhauled the nation's asylum system, which, as expected, did not happen by his deadline, which was Saturday. But he, along with his top official at USCIS, have signaled that these specific operations will still move forward. ICE just doesn't provide any time frame or other operational information due to safety concerns for their officers and to ensure that they apprehend the people they are targeting. So it's really a waiting game for many of these immigrants.
You know, when you talk about the numbers, we know Ken Cuccinelli had said he was talking about 1 million immigrants is the number that they're looking to potentially deport. I believe we have a graphic looking at all the breakdown of the number of deportations over the past few years. And we look back, I think it was 2012 was the highest number of deportations under the Obama administration. It was something more than 400,000 people. 400,000 people had been deported. That's the highest number. So where are they getting 1 million from? Is that just a round, scary, spooky number? Do we know how they got that 1 million number from?
Right, so this is why I said that the operation that the president touted, millions, like you said, is untenable and likely impossible during his term. Last year, ICE removed more than 250,000 people, and many of them were migrants who were recently apprehended at the U.S.-Mexico border, not in the interior like the president is vowing to do. And the highest yearly number of deportations came under the Obama administration in 2012, as you mentioned, Rena, when the agency removed approximately 10,000 undocumented immigrants. And according to ICE, more than half of those had serious criminal convictions or had been convicted of a misdemeanor. So, you know, the millions number that the president is touting and his USCIS director, it's something that is very unlikely to happen. Just because of the manpower and resources that ICE has at its disposal, really.
Yeah. You know, what are immigration advocates doing to make sure that these immigrants' rights are protected?
Yeah, so I talked to a couple over the past few days, and they're kind of seeking this balancing act of sorts, right? They want to prepare the immigrant communities and make sure they are informed of their rights, like not opening the door unless ICE agents have a judicial warrant that is, of course, signed by a judge. But they also don't want to fuel more panic in communities, which they believe is the main objective behind the administration's push for these operations. So they told me, many of them told me, that they do not want to do the administration's bidding for them.
Camilo Montoya-Galvez, thank you very much, Camilo, for joining us.
Thank you, Rena.